The materials you're going to need today are sandpaper. I use 1,000, 2,000, and then 3,000. If you're just getting started with this, or this is your first time or your first couple of times doing this, I would suggest starting with 1,500 or even 2,000 and then working your way to 3,000. 1,000 grit is going to cut into it a lot faster. There's a lot more potential to burn through in certain areas or put scratches you can't get back out. But I've been doing this a long time, so I'm comfortable using it. Another thing I'd suggest if you're just starting out with this is taping off the surrounding edges. Tape off the edges around the headlight, like on the fender, around the bumper, around the grill, any of those areas, just so that you don't accidentally sand and scratch the car, because this is sandpaper, so it will scratch the finish on the paint or the grill or other things if you're not careful. I've been doing this long enough, like I said, that I can be careful without, but if you're new, I would highly suggest putting some tape there. I wouldn't use duct tape on a hot day just because it can get super sticky and can leave some residue behind, or if you've got some shady paint, it might pull it off completely. Another thing that you're going to need is going to be a buffer, some kind of polisher. I have an orbital, I have a rotary buffer, which I'm going to be using today, and then I also have little drill buffers that you can get also. You are going to need some cutting compound, and then you also need a polish as well. When you're sanding the headlights, you want to try and keep your hand as flat as possible. Make sure there's no dirt or debris on your sandpaper, because it will deeply scratch the headlights if there's any rocks or anything that are in there. You want to sand it as evenly as possible, all the edges, everywhere, to try and sand it as evenly as you can. Once you feel like you've sanded the headlight pretty well, you want to either rinse it off and to get off all the residue from sanding it with water and a towel, or I have a little squeegee that I use to squeegee it dry. That way you can see, once it's dry, you can completely see how evenly it's been sanded and what it's going to look like. And then after that, you want to move on to the next step up on the sandpaper. So for me, it's the 2,000. Then you do the same process. You wipe it clean, see how it looks, and then you do it again for 3,000. The final two steps for the process are using the cutting compound with the buffer. I use a wool pad because it digs into it a little bit deeper and gets the scratches out easier. So I usually go over the headlight twice with that. And then once that's been done, I switch the pad and switch the compound and switch it over to a polish. And I do the same exact formula for the polish. And once that's completed, then the job is done.